Inauguration Day is just about a week away. President-elect Donald Trump has previewed an ambitious agenda and vows to waste a little time in rolling out those policy priorities. So what do those priorities include? Joining us is Scott McLean, a professor of political science at Quinnipiac University. Scott, thank you so much for being here this morning. Really appreciate your time.
Glad to be here, Angelo.
Yeah, of course. So looking at the big picture here first, how do you expect Trump to kind of go into the second term approach compared to how he approached the first term?
Well, we'll find out on January 20 when he gives his inaugural address. Will it be an address about reconciliation, or will it be about retribution, or will it be some sort of mix? And I think that will be the first signal about what he intends to do. But Trump has been very clear that immigration is a very high priority. And at his Homeland Security, nominees have made it very clear that they will start a program of mass deportation of undocumented immigrants. And that may sound very simple, it might frighten people. It's going to take a while. There are a lot of people. We're talking about 10 million people, and the resources will be costly. It will take time, logistics. It will happen in phases. It will require governors and mayors across the country to cooperate, or at least not impede this process. So that will be a very, very complicated part of that agenda. And yet that's Trump's first effort. It's going to take a while. Other things are going to be something called a reconciliation bill that will bring back Trump's tax cuts. It might eliminate the tax on tips for service workers. And the question is, how are you going to pay for all that? Trump says that's going to be paid for through a lot of tariffs on goods coming into the country. That's only going to raise prices for consumers here at home. So it's very perilous.
Now, the economy you mentioned right at the end there, grocery prices, he campaigned a lot on that issue during this campaign, talking about bringing grocery prices down. What do you suspect? I mean, you have the competing issues of tariffs and then wanting to bring grocery prices down. How do you think he's going to approach this issue?
Well, my guess is that there won't be a blanket tariff on all goods. It will be targeted politically so that Trump will be able to apply pressure on countries like Canada to change their trade policies in return. So I see it as part of a larger bargaining process, a deal-making process. But again, if it's not a wholesale tariff plan, if it's only targeted, it's not likely to generate a lot of money for the federal government, and you still have to pay for all of the things that Trump wants to do. Trump it talks a lot about cutting government, but there's not a whole lot to cut. And what he does want to cut, like taxes, that creates deficit problems. He's working with a Republican House of Representatives where he can only afford to lose one vote. It's that narrow in the House of Representatives. And if members of Congress don't like something in that reconciliation bill that he wants to give, one big bill, the whole thing goes down in flames. And Trump may start out his administration with a major loss legislatively. That could be difficult for him.
You mentioned that other T right there, tax cuts along with the tariffs. What do we know about that proposed policy?
Well, again, it's difficult to exactly know because the Republican Party has shifted from being more of a programmatic party that has these policies sort of planned out in advance. They've moved towards more of a personalist kind of party where they respond to what Donald Trump says or does or tweets. And so it's not clear where these cuts will actually appear. But he's made it very clear that he wants to bring back the big tax cuts that he implemented in his first administration. Automatically, that will put at least $1 trillion of government debt on our books once again. That's a big cost to government to sustain those and pay the debt service on those things. So the question then becomes, how do you pay for that, especially when you have members of Congress in your coalition who are opposed to deficits? One of the things that Trump has said is he wants to eliminate the debt ceiling. So the debt ceiling was almost what shut the government down a couple weeks ago. Trump wants to just do away with that. There are members of the Republican Party that are adamantly opposed to this and would not want to support that at all. So Trump would begin with a lot of coalition building that needs to be done in his own party.
And really quickly here, another topic that's been discussed recently, we've heard Trump suddenly pushing to annex Greenland, reclaim the Panama Canal, and absorb Canada. I think some people out there are wondering where this all came from and why would he want to do any of this? What are the benefits of this? Where are those plans coming from?
Well, I mean, they've been floating around here and there for a long time, but I think Trump is just sort of being Trump and saying things that will get headlines and attention. I think particularly the Greenland question is interesting because Trump said he would like to annex Greenland for the United States and that it's helpful for our national security. Greenland is governed by Denmark, which is one of our NATO allies. And when asked whether he would consider using force to take Greenland, he said it was still on the table. That would be extremely problematic to attack the territory of a NATO ally. It would actually trigger a response by all the other NATO allies against the United States. I don't think he was serious, and he was probably just talking about keeping all the options on the table. But I think he's starting off his administration saying that there's a new sheriff in town, a new sheriff in NATO, and he's laying down some markers that he will not be as accommodating as Joe Biden was with NATO.
So the bottom line, a lot to watch out for as we head towards Inauguration Day. Scott McLean, thank you so much for being here, for all the great insight. Really appreciate your time.
Sure thing, Angela. Take care.
You too.